Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting of Monday, March 6th at 4:30 p.m. We have a wonderful crowd. We don't usually get crowds in our council chamber, so welcome everybody. A few opening remarks that we need to start off with. Lisa, do you want to start?
I sure can, but first I'm going to apologize about my voice. It's a little shaky today, so just bear with me. So March 8th marks International Women's Day globally. The United Nations proclaimed it this through a charter in 1945, which recognized the need for gender equality. In 1977, on March 8th, however, it was proclaimed that going forward this would be the date for the official UN holiday for women's rights and world peace. Prior to this, the first National Day was observed in 1909 on February 28th in the USA, a year after the 1908 garment strike in New York, where women protested against harsh working conditions. There was an obvious need in society for this movement. I, in fact, will be eternally grateful for the suffragette movement and blue stockings. Those brave and courageous ladies led the way, and at times with great personal duress, for our ability today to have the opportunity to achieve equality. Yes, we have more work to do, so please join us on the 8th by appreciating those women in your lives and letting them know what they mean to you. Purple, green, and white are the colors for IWD. Purple for being loyal to the cause, justice, and dignity. Green for hope, and white for purity. The theme this year is Digit All Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality, which is to highlight the need for inclusive and transformative technology and digital education. Hashtag Embrace Equity and hashtag Embrace IWD 2023. If you'd like more information, please see the website at internationalwomensday.com. Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa. All right, Crystal, you've got something on Special Olympics.
I do. I just want to congratulate the Alpine team of Mitchell Pennington, Jada Kaiser, and Brian Tabor, who were competing in the Special Olympics in Edmonton. And Jay came home with 2 silver medals, and Brian came home with 2 bronze, and Mitchell came home with 5th place. And I actually saw Jay on the weekend, and he was probably wearing his 2 silver medals. And I asked if he was going to retire since he turned 50 this year, and he said no way, he's training harder than ever. So looking forward to what Jay has to do in the next 50 years of his life. So congratulations to the athletes that competed.
Thank you. Tom, Arts and Rec Fair?
Yeah, the semi-annual Spring Sports, Recreation, and Arts Expo goes this Wednesday, March 8th at the Badlands Community Facility, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And this is an opportunity for families, adults, seniors, anyone to get involved in a lot of the sports and arts and recreation stuff that we have in the Valley. And you will be absolutely amazed how many things there are to do. I always get people telling me, oh, there's nothing to do in Drumheller. And then you go to one of these things and there's like 50 booths and organizations and activities. And so it'll be really good. Wednesday, 4 till 7 at the BCF.
Thanks, Tom. And finally, Patrick.
Pardon me. On behalf of council, I just want to say congratulations to the U18 Raptors who won the T3 Purple Banner this weekend. So they got their league championship, and they did it in 2 games over Hannah, which I think they felt was even more special. So congratulations to these young guys, and more wishes for their future.
Great. Okay, any additions to the agenda? Nope. All right, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, please? Crystal?
I move that council adopt the agenda for the March 6, 2023 regular council meeting as presented.
Seconder for Stephanie. All in favor? Carrie, can I get a motion to accept the minutes of February 21st, please? Patrick?
I'll move the council approve the minutes for the February 21st, 2023 regular council meeting as presented.
Seconder. Lisa? Comments? All in favor? Carried. And now we will move into 6.1, and we welcome Rails to Trails Committee, Jason and Lana, welcome to council chambers, and we're looking forward to your update.
Well, thank you, Your Worship and Council, for welcoming us to provide an update to Rails to Trails. I'm Jason Blank, I'm the chair. Of course, Lana Phillips, secretary, and Becky Kowalczuk's also with us here. She's our vice chair, as well as a number of members of council are also on our organization, on our task force. We're excited to be part of building this amenity for the community. Today, we're providing an update on our progress and requesting an extension to our task force to continue fundraising. Our presentation complements the report provided in the agenda. So our task force is made up of 14 passionate community members who believe in the value that pathways provide to our community. Our focus of the task force is fundraising to construct the pathway and see it usable for our community as quickly as possible. The Midland Bridge is a critical connection point that has immediate value in connecting the existing neighborhoods and pathways north and south of the river. Weekly meetings began in the fall to maximize the progress we can make in the limited time frame of the task force, and we're optimistic that with our efforts and energy, the continued support of council, and resourcing with administration, this pathway can be completed within 2 years. Beyond opening up discovery of our beautiful landscape and supporting wellness, the trail provides positive economic impacts. Trails boost spending at local businesses, communities along the trail, often called trail towns, benefit from the influx of visitors going to restaurants, snack shops, and other retail establishments. On longer trails, hotels, bed and breakfasts, and outdoor outfitters benefit. Trails make communities more attractive places to live. When considering where to move, home buyers rank walking and biking paths as one of the most important features of a new community. Trails influence business location and relocation decisions. Companies often choose to locate in communities that offer a high level of amenities to employees as a means of attracting and retaining top-level workers. Trails can make communities attractive to businesses looking to expand or relocate, both because of the amenities they offer to employees and the opportunities they offer to cater to visitors. The route of the path follows the former CN rail line connecting Drumheller to Wayne through Rosedale. Before the task force was in place, the first section of the path from 19th Street East from Walmart to 5th Street East Liquorland was built. And it's great to see how well used this connection is, providing a safe connection for the community to Walmart. And every day I look out the window at the radio station and there are people on that path every single day. We appreciate the town has committed funding to construction the next section from 5th Street, so where Liquorland is, to Highway 56 intersection, Dollarama, this upcoming year. With funding, we see 2023 including opening of the Midland Bridge and Pathway in Drumheller, including the sponsored stations and stops. In 2024, we'd like to see the construction of the pathway extending to Rosedale and Wayne, including those sponsored stations and stops. The task force developed the concept plan for the pathway to drive our fundraising. The concept plan honors rail history with a series of stations and stops. So the stations provide a place to gather at key locations. A station includes amenities such as shade, a seating area, garbage, recycling bins, bike racks, wayfinding so you know where you're going. Stops provide places to rest at decision points. They're smaller in size, and a stop can include like a bench, garbage can, recycling bins, and maybe a dog relief station.
Thank you, Jason. So Rails to Trails provides an opportunity, as we know, to create a world-class experience right here in Drumheller. To meet the aspiration we've outlined, it's critical that we provide some good design. Design helps tell the story of a place. And ideally, the design will help in other adventures across the valley with other future trail and path developments. Recognizing the importance of design, we provided a number of conceptual drawings in the report, and one on the screen here for you. We want the design to provide a memorable experience for users. We want it to reflect the railway history of Drumheller. We want it to have the amenities that can be adapted to the site location and highlight local environments. We want it to provide clear and consistent wayfinding and signage, as well as minimize long-term maintenance needs and costs to the town. In the examples provided, you can see how the use of materials, orientation, and landscaping can help really create unique places. The centrally located main station is the largest station and will include the donor wall. However, I don't want the name fool you. It doesn't need to be a wall. We can be far more creative in honoring our rail history or taking the form of an outdoor arc. Every piece of design is an opportunity to make Drumhellians proud of what's created here and appreciate their community. Landscaping costs through the project can be minimized as the pathway provides an opportunity for vegetation compensation coming out of the flood project. As well, we know that the design will evolve as the project continues. Right now, we're just showing you a concept to help give your imagination something to see. Ultimately, it will be reflective of the site conditions and available funds. The key is that you want that design to carry across the whole network so people have a consistent experience. Members of the task force have been meeting with the town staff, helping to share the vision and informed of the design as we move forward to construction. Task force members will continue to be part of an advisory resource to the town as the project moves forward. As mentioned, wayfinding is one of the most key components on the pathway. Currently, the Value has many approaches to the design and implementation of signage, both on our paths and roadways. The inconsistency in signage can cause confusions and negatively impact the town's aesthetic and people's perception of the community. Community members, organizations, and the town's own policies reinforce the value of well-designed and implemented signage. We feel that wayfinding and signage for the community, particularly along our pathways, can be improved with design standards that outline when, where, why, and how wayfinding and signs can be installed, as well as documented and enforced internal processes and procedures that can help ensure consistency in the changing of signs. Given the importance of design to the overall project success, you will see that we recommend the town utilize a portion of the funds to get some expertise advice when it comes to the detailed designs of those key places like the station stops and key intersections, as well as wayfinding and site sign design, so that we have that consistent approach across the valley. Obviously, the concept is one portion, but we're about fundraising to bring this concept to life. So we're super excited that since November, in quite a short time frame, we've already seen 280,000 contributed through our community. So props to everybody who's made a contribution. That's one big step forward. The Christmas party helped raise that original $30,000, and then early sponsorship have included the Midland Bridge, the main station, and 3 of our 5 available stations. With the task force extended time, so increasing from the end of February to end of May, we really want to focus on the general donations. These funds are essential to get the basic core of the construction of the 19 kilometers of pathway, because that's the most significant cost in the overall project costs. Task force members continue to reach out across Drumheller and beyond to advocate for this project and help raise additional funds. So if you are at the Sports Rec and Arts Expo this Wednesday, you'll see us there telling people about the project, as well as take opportunity for sponsorship. And we'll also be attending the Dragons' first playoff game on Friday, March 10th. We welcome and encourage all members of council and the community to come learn more about this project, help spread awareness of the pathway, and obviously contribute to its construction. Every contribution makes a difference. In order to enable the Rails to Trails pathway within these timelines and closer to the aligned concept plan, we would like a formal extension to May 31st, and as well continued advocacy advisory role when it comes to design of the pathway. So we all know that this project can create a huge legacy for our community, and together we can make it happen. We're building on the things that already make Drumheller a great place to live, work, and play. So to close, I wanted to share an excerpt from a letter received with a donation from an elderly former resident of Drumheller. Mr. Irving wrote, "I have many fond memories of Drumheller and its kind and friendly people. I still consider Drumheller to be my hometown, and I try to visit every 3 to 4 years. I'm sending you this contribution to assist in construction. Take a moment and think what a gift it would be for on Mr. Irving's next visit, he could walk along Rails to Trails." Thank you for your time, and we're open to any questions.
Thank you both. Amazing. All right, council questions. Tom?
Yeah, excellent. I mean, I think people realize the council has been working on this for about 12 years or more. So you guys are really bringing it to the forefront. Just one comment I would like to make that you know, all of the donations and the fundraising and all of the plans are really good, but they're not exclusive. And I'll just give an example. The Newcastle Community Association, for example, is working with Wayne and Donna Powell on the Newcastle station. And what we're hoping to do is actually expand that to be a little bit of a Newcastle heritage kind of a focus as well. So I think there's opportunities out there that if people have, ideas that you guys are very receptive to that, and you can expand on some of these things. So
And that's totally the case. It's a matter of the biggest thing right now is we want to get this trail complete. We want to get this trail usable, and then those other enhancements, I think, is a huge benefit to our community. But the biggest key is let's get step one first, and then step two next.
Anybody else? Okay. I think because there's a couple of us on, 3 of us on there, we're keeping council abreast of the progress. I would like to, first off, there's not enough thank yous for the committee, the work that's been done. It's never ending. And for those listening, even you can donate $50, you can get a tax receipt, $1,000 gets you on the wall, or the whatever the wall ends up being, correct? Okay, so we're all going to be hitting the street here soon, so we just need everybody to help get us this trail going. So therefore, council, can I get a motion on the floor to move this, extend this? Stephanie?
I move that council extend the term of the CN Rails to Trails Fundraising Task Force to May 31st, 2023.
And can you add the terms of reference?
Yes, and that council approves the revised terms of reference for the CN Rails to Trails Fundraising Task Force as presented.
Seconder, Patrick, any more comments? All in favor? Carried. Well done. You have the support of council, and we're looking forward to keep going at this. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on to 7.1.1, please, Daryl.
Thank you, Your Worship. So what I have before you, and it's Dagan, I'll talk a little bit about East Cooley update in a minute, but this is a revision to a bylaw that we brought before you for road closure in East Cooley. So for those who may remember from the fall time, we had 2 road closures in East Cooley, which were closing little pieces of right-of-way. There are no roads there. And this, in part of our consultation that Dagan can more clearly explain, we've decided to change the alignment of the berm so that it goes along the roadway as opposed to cutting through a piece of property. And so for that, we actually need to do an amendment to the bylaw for the extra 100 feet or so of right-of-way that's required. And so our goal is to be able to do this with first reading, repeal the previous first reading, previous bylaw, do this amendment 21A.22, and then set a public hearing date for April. And what we're looking at is, because of holidays and other commitments, we're looking at changing the date from April the 3rd to April the 17th. So when it's time to make the motion there. So if you look on the drawing that's on page 42 of your agenda. The previous version of Area C ended at Lot 3. So Lot 3 and Lot 4 were not included with that, but now it's going up and tying there. So it went across, the berm had gone across Block F before, but now it's going to go up that right-of-way and tie into the roadway at right angles there. So what we're looking for again is repeal the original motion as laid out in the request for decision, and then have first reading of this and setting a public hearing date.
Thanks, Daryl. Can I get just the first motion to repeal, please, Tony?
I move that council repeal motion M2022.247 that passed first reading of bylaw 21.22.
Seconder, Patrick, all in favor? Carried. Can I get a motion for the second reading, please? Lisa?
A motion that council give first reading to East Cooley East Road closure bylaw 21A.22 and set a public hearing for April 17th, 2023.
Seconder. Crystal, comments?
No comments, first readers.
Oh, sorry, first reading. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Tony. See, you're good.
That's why he's sitting there. So.
That's right. Okay. 7.1.2, please, Daryl.
So before you is a resolution for expropriation of the land adjacent to and under the Star Mine Suspension Bridge. So we had done a resolution back in October. However, that is 4 months old, and by the time we got it into land titles, it would be about 8 months old. So our legal counsel is recommending that we are doing a new resolution for it. After the resolution in October, the landowners had approached the town through our solicitor to say that they would wanting to negotiate. After several months of back and forth, ultimately it's fallen through. They do not want to sell the land to us. They only want to lease it to us for a 5-year period, which isn't at all what we need for the future. So we're recommending to actually proceed with expropriation of the lands that are identified on the attached notice of intent to expropriate decisions. So,
Thanks, Daryl. Motion, please. Patrick?
I move the council approve the resolution approving expropriation of the properties identified as short legal RW 334 RLY OT, title number 101073610, and short legal RW 334 RLY OT, title number 101073610 as presented.
Seconder, please. Lisa? Comments, anyone? Tony?
Yeah, just to reiterate, so we've been in discussions here since 2020 on negotiations on this land.
the last set of negotiations, Tony, really we've been in discussions. So that's with the intent to purchase it. You know, there have been discussions going back to 2015
Okay.
with the landowner securing a lease. Really what's at heart of it, and I didn't go through it all because it's a very long tail, but really what's at the heart of it all is that the landowner is willing to swap this land for land that we don't own, and the bridge is owned by Alberta Transportation, and Alberta Transportation doesn't own the land either. It's actually owned by another department of the province. So someone thinks that the province is the province, but there are different departments. Alberta Environment is not willing to swap the land, and even with some monetary considerations. So we've tried to make that abundantly clear to the owners of the property, and they are believing that there is a way to do it. And so we've said that the only thing for us to do now to move forward and able to in order to fix it, is to actually expropriate. And then at the end of it all, the town will own the land outright, and we'll be able to do it, repair as we need, and create a part of a trail system out there or something else for people to be able to enjoy the outdoors.
So in short, then we're at an impasse. Our only avenue left here is expropriation. We need care and control of the land, and the bridge needs to be open for public use. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, so to be clear, it's not the town holding this thing up.
No.
Okay. All right. All in favor? Carried. All right, 7.1.3, Antonia. Take your time.
Thank you for your patience. Sorry, I thought I was on the wrong page for the agenda. So I'm here for third reading of both the municipal development plan and the land use bylaw. I'll start with the municipal development plan first. So we brought the first draft, the first reading to council in October 22, which was a cleanup piece for some of the changes that have been made in the past for standardized berm design, as well as the referencing for the flood construction level that the province has outlined that we need to construct to. So we held public engagement session back in November, as well as engagement sessions with MPC and realtors as well, and heard no feedback during public engagement sessions, as this aligns with other documents that have been produced by council in the flood office. This is more of just a cleanup piece for the municipal development plan.
All right. Can I get a motion, please, council? Tom?
I move that council give third and final reading to MDP 2022 Amendments B Bylaw 17.22.
Second, please. Crystal, comments, council? All in favor? Carried. Next one is yours, please, Antonia.
Okay, thank you for making that easy for me. The land use bylaw is a little more in depth. So we had the same public engagement sessions that were held for the municipal development plan, as well as the same timeframes for that. So we brought that back to council in October 22, public engagement through November, December for a public hearing, and then another second open house session February after the second reading of the bylaw. There have been no changes to this either since the second reading. We did receive feedback from council as well as members of the public for specifically for signage. However, in reviewing the tourism corridor bylaw and the beautification for the town along the highway, the zones that this particular section of the bylaw impacts also particularly impact that section of the tourism corridor beautification upgrades. So due to that, there were the suggestion from administration to keep that at 100-meter distances have been retained. I can show you the areas here that would be impacted. So the definition for tourism corridor in the land use bylaw in comparison to tourism corridor for the tourism corridor beautification bylaw and community standards bylaw don't align fully. The dark pink section down Highway 9 South, you can see on the, this section of the zoning of the land use bylaw is considered the tourism corridor district. And then also permitted for that type of signage is the neighborhood center district, which is this orange, the employment district, which is our industrial areas, which is this lighter peachy pink, and then the downtown district as well, which having multiple signs in a cluster may also be a deterrent for the beautification of the valley. So that's why that has been remained as it not changed since the second reading.
All right. Okay, council, can I get a motion on the floor, please? Stephanie?
I move that council give third and final reading to Land Use Bylaw 2022 Amendments B Bylaw 16.22.
Seconder, please. Lisa? Comments? Tom?
Just a comment again, and I've made this comment before, that the land use bylaw is constantly changed. It's not written in stone, and I would assume that things will come up in the future that maybe we'll look at the land use bylaw and they're not quite working very well. So we will amend and we will change. And again, it's kind of a living document.
Anybody else? Okay, and I just want to add that I want to thank you, Antonia, on behalf of council and Daryl and the rest of the team. I know it's a lot of work, and it's been a long process. So it's not that we've ever rushed this. This is from October, and we're now into March. So a lot of information was gathered. I love the fact that you have the key points here, that so that those who ask those questions, if they want their answers, they're very clear here in black and white. So well done, and appreciate all the work.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All in favor? Carried, and thanks again. Okay, we'll move on to 7.2.1, please, Dakin.
Thank you very much. I will just pull up my presentation. So today I have an update on the flood mitigation project to share. The first table here provides an overview of where we're at with our approximately 11 approved projects. So everything has gone through preliminary design stage. The projects that we are targeting for construction last year and this year have gone through landowner one-on-one and community information sessions. And we have the tender packages ready for the ones that went to construction last year, and as well East Cooley berm is currently out for tender, and downtown berm will be out for tender later this month as well. We have a bit more work to do on the land acquisition, and we have completed some of the tree clearing for the work that started last year, but there's more tree clearing that's actually going to start this week, so I'll talk more about that later. And then the 4 projects that were started last year are actually well over halfway done, so things have been going well on those too. In terms of the floodway buyout program, so this was the program to purchase homes in areas that were not able to protect with berm projects. So we had targeted 27 properties to purchase in the communities of Knackmine, Rosedale, and Lehigh. We purchased 22 of those to date, with 5 still remaining in Lehigh. We have put out 2 separate expression of interest for the homes bought through this program, so people can have a look at those and I guess bid on the homes available and move them off of the properties to another location in the valley or nearby where it is safe to have a home. And then any houses or outbuildings that are not sold through the expression of interest would be demolished. So we'll have a separate contract coming out for that soon as well. And then those lots will be leveled and seeded, and the area will be converted to environmental reserve, which is required through our funding agreements. And so if you're interested in looking at the homes that are for sale as part of the flood mitigation program, you can see the town's website for bid opportunities. And we do have paper copies available at Town Hall as well with information on that. Other work that's going on this spring, we're working hard on getting our regulatory approvals in for the 2023 work. So that includes things like the Transport Canada Navigable Waters, the Fisheries and Oceans Canada authorization, and the Water Act authorization. As I mentioned earlier, we are tendering East Cooley berm right now and looking at putting the downtown berm out for tender very soon, hopefully before the end of March. Tree clearing for the 2023 construction work is starting this week, and then the projects that started in the fall of 2022 will be restarting in the spring as soon as the ground warms up and temperatures are appropriate for working. So that includes Midland, Newcastle, Grove Plaza, and Willow Estates berms. We had a separate contract awarded for tree and shrub replanting in the area of those 4 projects, and that will likely go ahead between May and July of this year. And then we're also continuing land negotiations for work that will happen later in 2023 or early 2024. So that's the Hospital Berm Extension, Machichi Creek West and East Berms, and East Cooley Phase 2. And I will note that if we're not able to come to an agreement with the landowners based on the land acquisition policy and what we're able to offer under our grant funding, is we do need to proceed to expropriation as the next step. And what we're finding is that process is taking about 12 to 14 months. So if we do want to do some work next summer, we will have to start expropriation to gain the land that we need sometime this spring and summer. And then finally, we're working with Alberta Transportation to complete their North Drumheller Machichi Creek berm upgrades. So we're working together with them on a terms of reference to hire an engineering design firm for that work. Program funding update. So to date, we had the town of Drumheller committed $5 million of funding. The province of Alberta through the ACRP and their land grant had committed just over 26 million, and then the federal DMAF committed 22 million. But we heard some really great news on Tuesday of last week that the government of Alberta announced additional funding to support the Drumheller flood program. So that was great news for us, and that will allow us to complete not only all of the 11 committed projects, but that should also provide room for the additional projects that we've noted as unfunded in the past. So those 4 additional smaller berms should be able to fit under that program amount. And so our new program total, we also heard last week that we received 75,000 under the Provincial Watershed Resiliency and Restoration Grant to help with constructing some fish habitat to compensate for the riprap we're placing in the river. So our new total program budget is $81.5 million. As I mentioned earlier, we are starting tree clearing work for the projects that are going to be moving forward this summer. That's set to run from today until April 15th, and the work will be going on in East Cooley, North Drumheller, and downtown Drumheller. And so we do need to do this work ahead of the bird nesting season, and the trees that we are removing have been carefully chosen. We've gone out in the field and had a look and really attempted to save as many as we could, but the ones that we are taking down have to be removed for construction. We have in the past had members of the public approach the crews while they're out there working on the trees, and really we ask that people try to avoid doing that for your own safety and for the safety of people working. So please stay away from people when they're felling the trees and clearing the brush. But if you do have questions, you can reach out to the flood office, and we have information on the flood readiness website as well. And once the tree clearing work is done, we will have wood chips and firewood available for pickup for the public. And so we'll post on our website and radio and various other social media forums on how to find that and get that. This is our updated schedule, which is also posted on the website if you want to have a more detailed look. For the 4 projects that started last year, construction has pushed into this year, and then we've added the landscaping onto the end of each of those project schedules. These are the projects we have hoped to start building this year, so that will be a little bit contingent on regulatory approvals and property acquisition, but things are looking good for moving forward with East Cooley Berm, Phase 1, and Downtown Berm. And then the other ones, as I mentioned, will be dependent on a few of the other regulatory and land acquisition factors. And then into 2024, we'll be looking at moving forward with the Rosedale and Knackwmine berms. And then we've had these unfunded berms at the bottom of our schedule, so as soon as we find out more details on the provincial funding agreement, we'll look at getting those added to the schedule as well. And then just a bit on our recent community information event. We had an event on February 9th to talk about the work that we're planning to move forward with this year. And that was a chance for us to tell residents how the plans had changed since our last open house on the 17th. And we had a really good attendance at the event. We had 49 people registered and about 125 people attended the event overall. And we did capture feedback at the event on the format of the event and how people enjoyed that. And we did hear from people that they like the trade show style over the past events, which were the online or lecture style. And they like to be able to drop in and just go to the booth that they wanted to get information on, and as well enjoyed having other town departments available to speak with at the event too. And they said they liked the information, like to be able to take away paper copies of the drawings, and got really good feedback on some of the 3D renderings that we did of the downtown berm for that event. So that's something we'll look at doing for future events as well. That was what I had.
Great update. Comments, council? Tom?
Just one comment on Machichi and the Alberta Transportation. Are we not putting in a sewer line as well there? And is that going to be dependent on Alberta Transportation doing their thing?
The Machichi sewer line falls in the section of berm that the town is responsible for. And that sewer line actually is an above grade sewer line enclosed in concrete. So we are looking at converting that to a siphon that runs under the creek. So it's not interfering with the flow of the creek moving forward.
The Alberta Transportation section is really the wall, it starts at the wooden wall and goes northeast, all the way past 838, through the campground and ties up, and it ends up at Highway 956 or so.
Crystal?
So in Midland, I noticed in the fenced off area, there's still a lot of cement for all the drainage. So that still needs to get done this spring before the landscaping happens. Is that timeline wise that it will still work? Okay.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot of stormwater infrastructure still to go in. So there would be some disruption there.
Okay.
Digging up the roads. And actually the portion of the berm that runs along the CN rail line needs to be completed this spring there as well.
Because that just kind of got finally approved that we could use that rail line. Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, I just want to be clear on the grant funding that at this time, we still don't know the requirements around the funding. So if anybody asks about where that money's going, we're still waiting on that. And then I would like to put a huge shout out to our MLA, Nate Horner. He was very, very supportive, and we're most grateful for his help in this, as well as our MP Damien Kirk's helping us to now. We should be able to get the DMAF funding support on this with that extra funding. And then finally, tons and tons of work went into getting that extra funding, and I just want to thank Dagan and her team and Daryl, because the amount of effort that was put in was astronomical. So congratulations to you both.
And thank you as well, Mayor Kohlberg.
Thank you. All right, no other questions, council? Okay, we will now move on to 7.3.1, please, and the briefing on the CN Trail to Pedestrian Bridge. And Kelsey. Oh.
East Cooley Burma alternate
Oh,
alignment
sorry,
section.
I checked it off. I was too fast, but you can wait there because you're coming right next. I'm just too efficient over here. Okay, Dagan.
All right, so the next item I have to bring is with regards to the East Cooley berm alignment. So the design of the berm was prepared by WSP Engineering Consultants. And if we look specifically at the downstream end of the berm, where it ties to higher ground, they did look at a couple of different alternate alignments. So one that bisects the property that sits at the end of the berm, and the other one that falls along the road alignment there. And so they looked in detail at those two options, and we also brought them to the November 17th community engagement session. And we spoke to the landowner of this parcel about the two alternates. And based on feedback we received, and also looking at the cost of the two alternates, the flood office recommended that we go with alternate alignment number 2, which falls on the road right of way. And so using that existing road right of way would leave this lot unprotected from flooding. However, the portion of the lot kind of that sits right under alternate 2 is flooded by less than 1 meter depth. So it would still be developable under flood fringe regulations. So the landowner could build there in future. There's no home there right now. They would just need to floodproof by raising the lot. And that the portion over here would still remain in their ownership, although because of the flow depth and velocity, it would not be developable. The berm alignment on the road right of way would be built as a road, so access would still be maintained to the area as the current existing road is. And then the remainder would be part of the road closure bylaw. As Gerald mentioned, there's not an existing road there right now. And so we would be extending the road closure up until the edge of this lot at this point. So the cost difference between the two alternates is estimated about $175,000. So we would be saving that much in addition to the cost of the purchase of the parcel. And that would still leave the landowner's lot completely intact. And so we do, as Darryl mentioned earlier, need to adjust the road closure bylaw 21-22 for that slightly adjusted area. I guess that noting that the lot here is remaining outside of the berm protected area. Again, they are able to develop in the future under the town's land use bylaws. And some people might ask, why didn't we do the same in Lehigh? Why didn't we just leave it and let the land use bylaws protect that area? But in that community, it's a different situation where the whole of the community is in floodway. So it's flooded by more than 1 meter deep and faster than 1 meter per second. And under the land use bylaws, that floodway area would not be suitable for residential development or essentially any development moving forward into the future. So in this case, again, because there is a developable portion of the parcel, it was a viable alternative to leave it on the other side of the berm. So this change is going to be, it has been communicated to the adjacent landowners and they are all in agreement with it. And we will be posting the updated berm alignment on the flood readiness website and letting the provincial mapping team know about the change in the alignment as well.
Comments, council? Tom?
Just one question I had from one of the residents who lives up the street regarding drainage. Apparently the water runs east down 2nd Avenue and then south down into the river. And I was just wondering how that will be maintained.
So our team is definitely looking at drainage in the area and have a drainage design and a cross drain through the berm. So there'll be a culvert or a pipe that goes through the berm to let that water go from the dry side towards the river for most of the time. And then when it is a flood situation, there'll be a backflow valve on the end of the pipe that will prevent river water from coming back into the community.
Anybody else? And okay, so on Lehigh, you mentioned, Daryl, can you just clarify that that is an environmental reserve?
Sure, Your Worship. So, as part of our agreement with the federal government, all of the lands and the provincial government, so any of the lands that we've acquired for flood mitigation, complete areas in the floodway must be turned into an environmental reserve, which means that they cannot be further developed. The whole goal of it is that you cannot reverse that in the future. Successive councils can't go and then turn it into something else. It cannot never be eliminated. So and really that's their whole goal, is to be able to take floodway land and take it out of the potential for development again. So naturalized, passive. So not unlike some of the land that's in Newcastle Recreation Area. That's kind of a higher grassed area. Some trees grow, and over time, people could use it for passive recreation. But there's no structures or buildings that are being proposed for that in an environmental reserve.
Thanks. Any other comments, council, do you have? Go ahead, Lisa.
So out of the 27, that was just for Lehigh, right? So 22 properties were purchased in Lehigh with 5 remaining? Or is that the overall project?
That's the overall. So I believe there was 4 or 5 in Knack Mine. one in Rosedale, 3 or 4 in West Rosedale. And then, yeah,
And those are completed or still need to move forward on?
the purchase of those properties is completed. Yeah, so 22 of the 27, and the only ones remaining are in Lehigh.
Okay, perfect,
And
thank you.
just to add to this, to be clear, so these are properties that are in the floodway. So these are not that we're acquiring a portion of it or maybe all of it because of a berm construction. These were just simply the properties that were in floodway and will again be turned into an environmental reserve.
Good question. Anybody else? Okay, well, thanks for that update, Dagan. All right, now I can go to Kelsey at 7.3.1, please, Kelsey. And welcome to council, your first time presenting, so.
I'm here tonight to give a briefing note on the CN bridge located out in Midland. We are going to be completing a bridge conversion project there, converting that CN bridge to a pedestrian bridge. We've retained Sedulous Engineering, partnered with Lex 3 Engineering to complete the preliminary design, detailed design and construction work on what we'll refer to as the Midland Bridge. Sedulous has also partnered with Lightspace at SMP Engineering to complete the lighting design. The components of the conversion that have been identified are structural upgrades or repairs required to the existing bridge elements, addition of pedestrian/cyclist handrail, additional decking, programmable multicolored LED lighting, and then pedestrian viewpoints utilizing the existing worker safe zone jutouts. The preliminary design includes a bridge inspection, registration of the Midland Bridge within Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors Bridge Inspection System, completion of a basic desktop environmental evaluation, completion of a preliminary lighting study summarizing various options, basic load comparison of the proposed pedestrian loading versus the design train loading to ensure structural adequacy, an options development for the various subcomponents such as the decking, railing, repairs, and lighting, a Class B cost estimate, and then an overall preliminary design report presenting all the information above, making recommendations to the town based upon a bunch of factors: schedule, environment, constructability, and cost. We hosted our kickoff meeting, and it was noted that the programmable lights that have been requested that are as seen on Calgary's Reconciliation Bridge may not suit the aesthetics of the Drumheller Valley, and as such a stakeholder engagement session will be held to determine other lighting that might suit Drumheller. There are some budget concerns in regards to tendering in late July, and then if council wishes to receive the final preliminary design report, that could also put a constraint on the scheduled delay in having the bridge open by the end of November. There's also been a financial breakdown included in the briefing note for you. I can take any questions.
Thanks, Kelsey.
I was just going to add a couple of things to Kelsey. Great job, by the way, especially on short notice. So a couple of things just to kind of put some stuff in perspective. So in the province, all bridge structures, so which includes culverts over 5 feet in diameter, all get assigned a bridge number, which then ties them to inspections and making sure that there's an inventory. The CN bridges, of which there are many in our valley, do not have bridge numbers on it. So part of it is that part of the work that we've had to do and identify is actually get them to be able to get them certified and open for traffic. You actually have to get them inspected and get them registered with the province. So one extra step that'll be honest, no one contemplated at all. So, and unfortunately, this takes time and effort to be able to do stuff like that. So, the off the cuff thought of, well, we'll just remove the blocks, put some boards down and kind of call it a day for stuff. It's a lot more complicated, especially when you have to factor a risk in, and we don't want Greg to have a heart attack with insurance and stuff like that for the town. So it's a little bit more work, but we're going to get it done right, so that we have this for decades to come in the future. So
Thanks, Darrell, for that. All right, Lisa.
So I'm just wondering, has there been any thought in regards to having part of the bridge being able to be used for an alternate emergency route one way? Like say if one of the hills covered the road and blocked off Knack Line from the rest of Drumheller, other than going up Carbon and around up to 27 and down, is there a possibility or feasibility of that? Like, is the bridge wide enough? Like,
I'm searching in my head for the answer. Like we've talked about it, and I think the shorter answer is no. And there's a couple of reasons for it, but those I don't remember off the top of my head why it doesn't work. But there are some challenges with it, but making it a dual purpose bridge like that.
I think also in the agreement with CN is they didn't want any vehicles on the bridge, so that was part of the agreement to even get the bridge. Tom? That was my question. Oh, question answered. Patrick?
Just following with the explanation with the bridge registry and stuff, do we know how many actual bridges beyond the Midland Bridge with the CN Trail that we will need to consider doing this with?
All of them. Yeah, like seriously, none
yeah.
of the, and I think it's partly because, so, it's fascinating looking at CN and CP and sort of the powers that they have, compared to the rest of government type stuff. So they were, because they sit above the province, in terms of legislation, they would have been exempted from actually needing to register their bridges because they're considered private bridges, right? They were only used for one purpose, and that was to transfer their own vehicles across it. Unlike something for public access, even if it's pedestrian, requires a bridge registration. So none of the bridges are registered. The good news is that working with CN, they did find, if not all the drawings for the bridges, most of the bridges drawings, and have sent that to us, which helps tremendously and saves us time and money. So,
well, I'm just curious with the number when you consider like the size of a culvert and the number of those are on there. Do we have a number? Or?
Culverts are a whole other story there for the CN one. Like, so we don't have any of those culverts, if I recall, Kelsey, at all. Like, so, and there are some culverts in there that are probably 14 feet high, and they're very, very large, and they're all 110 years old, right? So there have been some inspections done. I know Dave did some inspections when we did some during COVID. We know that there's one that is by the Plug Street crossing needs to get work in the next few years. So that's part of our applications to the provincial grants for STIP funding for it. So CN wasn't going to fix those anyway because in their minds there's no need to actually maintain them. So the good news for us is they're all concrete as opposed to steel. The steel ones would have failed years ago, but the concrete is still in reasonable shape to good shape. So
the inspections that Dave did last year or whatever, they're valid ones that we can use to register
yes.
them then? Okay. Yeah. And is there any cost for registration beyond just the inspection?
No.
Kelsey said paperwork. Tony?
Yeah, that was my question as well, Pat. But further to that, knowing that there's more than just the Midland Bridge, are we also proceeding with numbering all of the bridges on the trail while we're at it?
So as it stands, all we've engaged Sedulous to do is Midland Bridge. But as a greater project, the rest will be looked at as well.
Okay, just whether it's separate or not.
It's
just
separate.
Yeah, so it just doesn't delay the whole development of the whole trail, especially when you get into that Wayne area. So
Yeah, no, we will look at it for our future projects and
okay.
Planning.
Anybody else? I know that people will be sad to possibly November 23, and depending on how this all works, it could be next year, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so, but from hearing what you're saying and Daryl saying, we want to just get it right the first time out of the gate. So we'll just have to keep the community understanding that we're just trying to do it right. Okay, thanks, Kelsey. Great job. Well done. Okay, council, we got some closed session issues to deal with. So can I get a motion, please? It's Crystal.
I move that council close the meeting to the public to discuss personal facilities, third-party contracts, and process as per FOIP 16, disclosure harmful to business interests of a third party, FOIP 23, local public body confidences, FOIP 24, advice from officials.
Seconder, please, Stephanie. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone, for being with us, and we will see you next week, and have a great week.